Hi, I'm Sharon Ross with Capital City Arts Initiative, and we are here in the Bob Crowell Board Room at Carson City's Community Center. And our new exhibition is by Paul Mudgett and some amazing photography. And we're introducing Paul.
Thank you. I'm happy to be
Welcome.
here.
And why don't you start with this bit of royalty here you've got in the photograph?
Oh, this red-tailed hawk is one of my favorites because it tells the story of how wildlife photography is kind of unexpected. And I had just been walking out near home, and this fellow decided to fly by right overhead and landed right next to me on this rock outcropping. So you never really know when good photo opportunities are going to happen, and this one just kind of landed in my lap and was able to capture it.
Well, and he sat still for you.
And that is true. Didn't scare him off. Had to move pretty slowly so I wouldn't spook him.
Well, good. So this one was taken in Reno?
This one was in Reno, just not too far from my house, which is kind of nice. Don't have to go too far to get some good subject matter.
Well, as I said, he's very regal. So, Paul, this one's titled Soft Glow, Badlands National Park, South Dakota. So tell us about this. It's interesting. There's mountains in the foreground, and in the background is the classic Midwestern flat plain.
Yeah, the South Dakota Badlands was just a really fantastic trip. I took that earlier this year. And this particular picture is at the Pinnacles, which is one of the overlooks at sunset. The interesting piece about it is just the way the sunlight glows across it. You have a lot of neat features in South Dakota, especially in the Badlands. So it was an exciting trip, and being able to capture shots like this where you just get that nice glow across the entire landscape. It's one of my favorite trips.
Well, the sun completely cooperated. I'm giving you all that good color. Good. Okay, next door is Graceful Giant, Monterey Bay. So we're headed to the ocean.
Yeah, this is a humpback whale. So I spent a few days out on the water on a boat, and it was trying to keep my balance and not fall into the water was probably one of the biggest challenges. But this giant whale was coming right at the boat, decided to dive right underneath us, but captured the whale as it was making its dive underneath us. So it was an exciting time and exhilarating to see these big creatures coming in and cooperating a little bit for some of the photo opportunities. But that was a fun trip as well.
Well, that one's especially for those of us that are desert rats, that's especially appealing. So we moved from South Dakota to Bodie, California. So this is another portrait.
Yeah, I'd driven by that Bodie turnoff so many times, 395, and finally made a decision to make a trip when the park there decided to stay open late at night for photographers in particular. I knew that this particular spot was going to be popular that evening, so I camped out for a couple hours in this one particular spot to get this composition. The sunlight cooperated perfectly, the glow off of the clouds coming through. In this particular image, this car is probably one of the most photographed relics in Bodie, so I was happy to get an image for myself.
So do you know the make and year and all of that?
I wish.
Okay.
Old.
You have to get a car guy to identify it.
That'll work.
All right. And there's another portrait next.
Yeah, this was also, this was in the same trip where I captured the whale. I happened to be at the Coast Guard Pier in Monterey. And these characters are there, and this particular sea lion decided that he was going to make some posing for me. So I don't do a lot of portrait photography at all, but when you have a subject that will pose for you and look happy doing it, it makes it kind of fun. So this was a fun image.
So tell us about the travels and how you got started in photography.
You know, I started in photography as just kind of a hobby to break up my work. I needed to get away from the desk. My wife said I had to get away from things, and so picking up photography was more of a hobby to try and experiment with something new, and it took off from there. So learning new techniques and getting out into the natural environment and the outdoors has always been something that I'd enjoy, and so taking photography into the outdoors with me is really how I started and how I continue with that particular genre of photography.
So how long have you been a photographer?
Well, everyone says they're a photographer forever, right? Especially with the advent of phones. But I really picked up the first big boy camera of mine in 2017. So it's only been 4 years of doing this, and studying hard and trying new techniques and practicing. That's the benefit of digital photography, is you can make lots of mistakes and it doesn't cost you a lot of money.
Well, obviously in 4 years you've achieved a lot, and to our benefit. So
thank you.
Thank you. So this piece is?
This is in Sand Harbor, just kind of that quiet and still. This is a long exposure shot, so that gives kind of that glassy appearance of the water and the reflection with the trees on the side and the sun coming into it. Tahoe is we're fortunate to have such a beautiful lake and environment close by, and to go up and photograph Lake Tahoe on a regular basis. I try to do that as often as I can. But this one was Sand Harbor, and being able to come in right when the sun was setting and capture just that calmness across the water kind of turned out kind of nice.
So the long photography helped the water in the shot to flatten out?
Yeah, it flattens it out. It makes it smooth. It gives kind of that mirror image. Sometimes you can do that with waterfalls, and it gives that kind of just that streamy kind of look without the water. So it softens the exposure.
Okay. And coming next, we have another portrait.
Yes, another one in South Dakota. This was at Custer State Park on the wildlife loop. It's a stare down. I'd happened to step out of the vehicle. I spotted a herd of bison that were up on top of a hill, and just patiently waited for them to make their way down, and they came across the highway or the road. And this guy wandered off on this little hillside on the other side of the road. So myself and another photographer that happened to be there kind of walked over, and we were taking this image and got a little bit scared when he was staring at us. So quickly captured this image and retreated to the safety of my car. I didn't want to be on a YouTube video of the guy that gets picked up and thrown by a bison. So
no, those guys, what are they, 2,000 pounds? They're nothing to fool around with.
They're big and they're quick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they move pretty quick for big guys.
Well, one thing I've seen pictures and in person of bison, and they're always surrounded by clouds of dust and flies. And this one it's lovely.
Yeah, sometimes you just look out that they go across and they set up the picture for you by just where they happen to land. And he's busy eating lunch or something there, and happen to catch a little bit of drool coming off of him while he's eating, which is always fun to capture those little details in some of the images. Okay,
leaving South Dakota, we now find ourselves at?
We're in Maui at this point. This was a family trip out to Maui, and I tend not to bring my photography gear with me on family trips because, well, I tend to get up either early or stay up late, or I get kind of distracted by the photography and don't enjoy the rest of the trip with the family. But in this particular case, I was able to sneak away for a little bit and capture a sunset, behind a kind of a fallen tree down here, and the way it kind of blocked out the sun and just set it up kind of nice for me. So I was happy to kind of break away and get a sunset shot on Maui. Boy, being on the beach in Maui, what's better, right?
Yeah, not much, not much. Well, that one can sort of just, in your mind, take you to that calm, lovely place.
I want to go back.
Yeah. So I think we're back in South Dakota.
We are. One of the neat parts of South Dakota is you'll go around to some of these wildlife areas and you see these prairie dog towns. And they're just a bunch of holes and mounds all over this one area. And I happened to capture a bunch of prairie dogs while I was there. And this one happened to be picking up a peanut that was sitting out there. The fun part about it is you can see the prairie dog is actually licking the peanut. So kind of, I don't know, I doubt that these were salted shells, but as most people like to lick the salt off of shells, I guess, that it just made it a little humorous with this prairie dog. They're fun and cute little critters.
So for wildland, one of them would probably use this as please do not feed the wildlife.
Right. Well, fortunately, a peanut and not like a ham sandwich, so I think we're probably good.
That's true. Well, he or she is just lovely. It's a good
thank
shot. You've told us that this has a special story behind it. So what is it and where is it?
Oh, sure. Again, we're in the Badlands in South Dakota. And this shot is taken from the same location as the sunset picture I had taken earlier from South Dakota at the Pinnacles. I had climbed up a ridge a little bit to try and get a good shot and set up for sunset. So I had been set up on a tripod. I got my composition all ready, and I looked to my left, and here is this bighorn sheep, the ewe, the mom, and the baby lamb, walking up the same ridgeline that I was just walked up. No real place for me to escape. So being a photographer, I popped my camera off of the tripod, backed up as far as I could, and started shooting some images. Fortunately, they cut off down this other ridgeline, went to a clearing across the way, and I was able to switch over to a longer lens and capture the little baby taking a nap up against her mom there. And so it was just kind of a sweet picture, but again, one of those unexpected things that happens when you're out amongst wildlife. So that was a fun little story that unexpected. The intention was to capture sunset and ended up with a fun wildlife photography.
So you have an amazing range of wildlife and landscapes. So do you have a preference or?
Both of those genres offer some different challenges for me. With landscape, it becomes an issue of waiting for the right time, getting the light to hit exactly the way you want to. And so that's an exercise in patience. Sometimes I'm not exactly really good at that. Wildlife, on the other hand, it's exciting because maybe with the exception of the one sea lion that we looked at earlier, they don't spend a lot of time posing for you. So you have to be able to get into their environment, learn about their habits, and capture some photos of them, sometimes unexpectedly. And you get some really fun shots because of it if you just kind of capture them in their natural environment.
How far away were you when you took this? Because it looks like you were, 6 feet away.
The benefit of a long lens. So this was taken with a 500 millimeter lens. So the big lens, and I can't recall exactly how far away. It was probably maybe 75 yards, 100 yards or so.
Well, it's very sweet.
Thanks.
Okay, so Paul, again, we are back west, out of the South Dakota.
Yeah, this was actually up at Donner Summit. It's Donner Summit Bridge overlooking Donner Lake. And I'd crossed over this bridge several times. Sometimes I'll go hiking in the Donner train tunnels because they're just kind of neat. And I'd always wanted to grab a sunrise photo at this location. Sometimes doing these types of photos is a little hazardous. I was hiking across the snow to get to this particular location, and I sunk in at one point up to my waist. I was the only one there, and I thought, well, they'll find me when it thaws.
Oh my.
Managed to scramble out of that and then climb up this nice little icy rock ledge, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do either, but was able to get in a good position to capture this sunrise.
So all for the art.
All for the art, and the colors just worked out nice on this one.
Yeah, I think so. This group is titled
Trio. And this isn't too far away. This is actually out in Pleasant Valley. This is one of the first shots I got with my new long lens. I just picked it up and I decided I was going to go out and try and find something to shoot out in Washoe Valley, and I didn't have any luck finding any birds. So on the way home, I spotted these horses that were up on the hillside. So hiked up and was able to capture this trio while they're enjoying a little snack. Kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. Well, and the fact that they're silhouetted against the lovely Nevada blue sky is good shot. Good shot. Lake Tahoe continues to provide many, many opportunities.
It certainly does. This was actually my first sunrise photo up at Lake Tahoe. And it's at Emerald Bay. Just sitting at the overlook there, the sun was popping up in the right location. If you look closely at the actual picture, there's a kayaker coming across the water there, which is kind of neat. But this was also a lesson on how to dress appropriately when you're out doing outdoor and landscape photography. It was a little brisk in the morning there. And after I had spent enough time trying to capture this particular image, I think I had to sit inside the truck for about 20 minutes to thaw out my hands in front of the heater. But again, all in the name of art, right?
Yes. So what time of year did you take this one?
This was actually in October of 2017, I believe. So didn't have any snow yet, but still a little frigid in the early mornings in order to get up in time to capture sunrise.
Well, we're glad you're a morning person. So Reno is not particularly known for its lakes, but this is a good shot of lake water in Reno.
Sometimes it's fun to just get out and take photos anywhere in town, and you never know what you might come across. So this was actually in San Rafael Park in the north part of Reno. And the water there just happened to capture this mallard that was swimming along. And the fun of it is there was a lot of detail in the feathers and the pictures and the water coming off the bill and such. So ended up being kind of a neat shot for just something simple. And sometimes those are the better shots sometimes is when it's not so complex and you can just get something really simple with wildlife.
Well, good job. So Paul, we're grateful for your exhibition, and it will be here through February 2nd, if I'm remembering correctly. So. And so anyone who wants to come to any one of the city's public meetings, the room will be open. Go to carson.org and scroll down to full meeting schedule, and you can see when the room is open. If you need to get in at another time, please let CCAI know, and we'll see what we can do to accommodate you. But we're delighted to have this series of very fine photographs in the Crowell Board Room. Paul, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and fun to have this up.
Important to tell everybody that Capital City Arts Initiative receives its funding from the Great John and Grace Nauman Foundation, Nevada Arts Council, and the National Endowment for the Arts, from Nevada Humanities and the National Endowment for Humanities, the Kaplan Family Charitable Fund, U.S. Bank Foundation, Southwest Gas Corporation Foundation, Steel and Associates LLC, and CCA sponsors and members. We are most grateful to all. Additional funding came from the Governor's Office of Economic Development, provided through its Nevada Pandemic Emergency Technical Support Grant for 2021, and we are very grateful. It helps, all the funding helps CCAI produce its programs and provide honorary for the artists. And we welcome additional members and sponsors. Thank you all.